Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this poncho here. Now it is a one size fits most, but you might have to adjust the length to your liking. You can see me in the photo. I am 5'3" and that is on a good day. So here is the stitch pattern. I would consider it an intermediate pattern. It does have puffs and back post stitches and the regular singles and doubles and chains. Now I do have a matching shawl that I made maybe a year or two ago. If you guys are interested in that, I will put a link to that shawl up on the screen and in the description box in the comment section. It's the same. A lot of times I'll make a shawl and I'll make a poncho to match, or I'll make a poncho and then I'll make the shawl to match. This is the poncho to match that shawl. So it's got lots of texture. I think it's really pretty. So I'm going to move it to the side here. Remember to check out that shawl too if you're interested in that. Also, don't forget to hit me up on Instagram where you can show me all your crochet items and see what I'm doing on there. Okay, for this project, I am using a Lion Brand Basic Stitch Premium. It is a medium weight number 4 100% premium acrylic yarn. You don't have to use this yarn. Any 4-weight yarn will work. There's 219 yards per skein, and you're gonna need about probably close to 800 yards for my size. Of course, if you make it longer, you will need more. And then I am going to be using a size I, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. All right, so we need to start out with a chain of 76 stitches. And what we're going to do is we're going to make one large ring, which will form our neck hole. So once you get your chain of 76 done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to follow it all the way down without twisting our chain, and we will slip stitch into the first stitch to form our large ring. Just like so. Okay, so we're going to start off by chaining 1, and then we're going to go directly back into that same spot that we just slip stitched into in single crochet. And now I will work around my ring, and I will be putting 1 single crochet in every stitch of the chain around my whole ring. Just like this. So 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around until you get back to your starting point. All right, once you make it back around to the beginning, you want to go ahead and end, this will be round 1, by slip stitching into your first single crochet. Not the chain one, but the first single crochet, and you should have 76 stitches. Now don't worry if the opening appears to be small. The weight of the poncho stretches the head opening, so I don't suggest using a different size chain amount. Okay, so now we are going to start row 2. As I mentioned, this is a 4-point poncho. The front and the back point are sharper than the 2 side points. So we're going to put our first point right here in the back. So we're going to chain 1. We're going to go right back into that same stitch there that we slip stitched into, and we're going to work 2 double crochets into that spot. So there's 1 and there's 2. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to go back into that same spot again and work 2 more double crochets. So our back point is 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles. So there is the first point made. Now I'm going to work across, working 1 double crochet in each of the next 18 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I have 18 double crochets that I just did. We're not counting the stitches of our first point, so 18 double crochets. Now I'm going to do a side point, which is not as sharp as our front and back. So in the next stitch, I'm going to work 1 double crochet, a chain of 2, and 1 more double crochet into the same stitch. So that would be our side points. 1 double, chain 2, 1 double. So again, I'm going to go ahead and start off, and I'm going to work 18 double crochets in a row. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I did 18 double crochets in a row, and now I'm going to do the front point of my poncho, which is the sharp point. So in the next stitch, I'm going to work 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and 2, and then I will chain 2 and work 2 more doubles into the same stitch, and that will be our front point. Now again, I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the next 18 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm coming to the end of row 2, and I just finished out my 18 stitches, and I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into the first double crochet of my first point, which is on the back side. Now you should have a total of 84 stitches. So this is what it looks like. It's not going to be completely square, more diamond shaped, because the back point and the front point, remember, are sharper, so the sides don't hang down quite as low. So we are going to start round 3. Round 3 starts the repeat rounds for the rest of the pattern. So we are going to slip stitch 2 times until we get to the our chain 2 space here. So slip stitch 1 and then slip stitch again. We're going to start off by chaining 1, and we're going to work our point right here in this chain 2 space. So this is our back point. It's our sharper one, so it gets 2 double crochets. There's 1, and there's 2. And we're going to chain 2, go back into the same space and work 2 more double crochets. Just like that. So that is our first point of row 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to work a chain of 2. 1, 2. Then I'm going to skip 2 stitches, so make sure you pull this back and you get that first one. So skip, skip, and then I'm going to double crochet into the next. Like that. I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to chain 2, skip 2, so skip, skip, and double crochet into the next. Again, chain 2, skip 2, skip, skip, double crochet into the next. And I'm going to repeat this until I get to my next point of my poncho. Chain 2, skip 2, double into the next, chain 2, skip 2, and double. I'm almost there, so I'll just keep going. chain 2, skip 2, double into the next, that just slipped away from me, and I'm going to chain 2, skip. You'll have 3 stitches left before your chain 2 space, so you're going to skip 2 and double crochet into that last one. And now we are at our side point, which is not the sharp point, and we're going to go into that chain 2 space, and we're going to work 1 double, chain of 2, and 1 more double, like so. And since we ended with a double crochet here, we must start with 1 on the other side. So we're going to start with a double crochet, and then chain 2, skip 2, single, or a double into the next, I'm sorry, and repeat this, chain 2, skip 2, and double into the next until we get to the next point of our poncho. Skip 2 and double into the next. Alright, I'm coming up onto my next point, which is the front point, the sharper poncho, or sharp point of the poncho. So we have 2 stitches there left. So what we're going to do is chain 2, skip those 2 stitches, and start working directly into the chain 2 space, or the point, and we're just going to go ahead and make our point. So we're going to work 2 double crochets into that chain space, a chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets. And once again, since we started with skipping 2 stitches here, we have to do the same on this side. So we'll chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet into the next. So we're just repeating now on this side what we did on this side. So we're going to go ahead and do a chain 2, skip 2, and double into the next, and you want to repeat this until you get to the next point of your poncho. Chain 2, skip 2, double into the next. Alright, I'm coming to my next point, and this is the side point, so it's not the sharp one. We have 3 stitches there. We need to skip 2 and double crochet there into that last stitch before the chain 2 space, just like we did on the other side. And now we're going to go into the chain 2 space and work 1 double, chain 2, and 1 double. And again, since we started or ended over here with a double crochet, we must start over here with a double crochet into the first stitch, and then we start our repeat. Chain 2, skip 2, single crochet into the next, chain 2, skip 2, single crochet into the next, and we're going to do this until we get to the end of the row. Alright, I'm coming to the end here of round 3. I have 2 stitches left there. I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, skip those 2 stitches, and end by slip stitching into my first double crochet of my first point, like that. And now you'll have a total of 28 chain 2 spaces, and that is not counting any of the chain spaces of the points. Okay, now we're going to start row 4. So we'll start, or round 4, we'll start by slip stitching 2 times to our chain 2 space of our first point. Chain 1, and then we'll go ahead and work our point into that chain 2 space. We're going to work 2 double crochets, chain of 2, 2 more doubles, like that. Now we're going to do some more chain spaces. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out and we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to skip these 2 stitches here and we're going to single crochet into this chain 2 space. We're going to chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 2 space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 2 space. We're going to repeat this until we get to the next point of our poncho. Chain 3, single crochet into the space, chain 3, single crochet, chain 3, single crochet. I'm almost there, so I'm just gonna work up to it. Chain 3, skip these 2 stitches here, and in this point here it is actually, even though it appears to be a sharp point, it's actually the side point. So we're going to go directly into that chain 2 space and work 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet, and start again with the chain 3, skipping these stitches and single crocheting into the next chain space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space, and we're going to do this until we get to our next point of our poncho. Okay, I've come to my next point, which is the front point of my poncho, so it is the sharper point. I just single crocheted in my last chain 2 space. I want to make sure I chain 3 and then go directly into that chain 2 space and work 2 double crochets, a chain of 2 and 2 more double crochets, now what I want to do is repeat on this side what we just did on this side. So we start again with a chain 3 and skip those 2 stitches and single crochet into the next chain space, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain space, and we're going to repeat this till we get to our next point of our poncho. Okay, I'm at my next point, which is actually the side point, so we're going to chain 3 and then go directly into this chain 2 space and work 1 double, chain 2 and 1 double, and then we're going to start off again with a chain of 3, skip these stitches, single crochet into the next chain 2 spot, chain 3, single crochet into the next space, and we're going to do this until we get to the end of our row. All right, I'm coming to the end of round 4, and I single crocheted there in my last chain 3 space. So I want to chain 3 again and end by slip stitching into my first double of my first point. And now you should have 32 chain 3 spaces. Now we're not counting the chain spaces of any of our points, just the, you should have 8 on each side, not counting those. So we'll go ahead and move on to row 5. So let's slip stitch 2 times again to our first chain 2 space, like so, and then we'll chain 1. Let's go into this point and do what we always do. we'll work our 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and then we're going to work 2 more doubles, just like that. Now let's work a 1 double crochet in each of these 2 stitches. So 1 in the first one, and then 1 in the next. Now we're going to work 3 double crochets in each of these chain 3 spaces. So you go right through the space and you're going to work 3 double crochets. And then we're going to jump to the next one and we're going to work 3 double crochets. And we're going to do this 3 doubles into each of those chain 3 spaces, excuse me, until we get to our next point. Just like that. Alright, so I've made it to my next point here, and you can see this is the side point, so it's not our sharp one. I put 3 double crochets here in this last chain 3 space, and here is my point. I want to go ahead and put 1 double crochet into the double crochet there of that point, and now I'm going to work into the chain 2 space, and I'm going to work 1 double, chain 2, and 1 double, and then we'll start over here on the other side, and we'll start by putting 1 double crochet into this double crochet here of the point. And now we'll work 3 double crochets into each of the chain 3 spaces until we get around to our, till we get to our next point. Just like that. Okay, so I've made it to my next point, which is the front point of my poncho. So you can see I did my 3 doubles into this last chain 3 space, and here is my front point. So I'm going to put 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets here until I get to my chain 2 space of my point. Then I'm going to go ahead and work into that chain 2 space and work my front point, which is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets. Now I'm just going to repeat. I'm going to start off here by working a double crochet in these first 2 double crochets, and then I'm going to work 3 double crochets in each of the chain 3 spaces until I get to my next point. Like that. Alright, I've made it to my last point, which is a side point. So we'll go ahead and double crochet into this double crochet of the point, and then in the chain 2 space we're going to put 1 double, chain 2, and 1 more double, double crochet in this first double crochet here, and then we're going to finish out till we get to the end. We're going to put 3 double crochets in each of the chain 3 spaces. Butterfingers today. Just like that. Alright, I'm coming to the end of round 5. I just did 3 double crochets here in this last chain space. Now there are 2 stitches here. They've been slip stitched into, so they're kind of hard to see, but I kind of just go kind of in between them, and make sure you put 1 double crochet in each of those last 2 stitches. and then we're going to end by slip stitching into our first double crochet. And now we'll have a total of 120 stitches total. It's going to be kind of diamond shaped still, so you should have 30 stitches on each side. Okay, let's go ahead and start round 6. We're going to slip stitch 2 times again to our chain 2 space, chain 1, and we're going to start our point here like always, 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and 2 more doubles. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be working back post double crochets. So we are going to back post a double crochet in every single stitch until we get to our next point of the poncho. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to do a back post double around that first stitch, and I'm going to back post double around every stitch. And what that does is it makes a little bit of a textured ridge across the front there. So I'm going to continue. You see, that's all right if it curls up. It'll do that, but we'll straighten that out. So you can see that ridge it's making. I'm going to continue back post double crocheting in every single stitch until I get to my next point. All right, I'm coming up on my next point here, which is a side point. So I'll go ahead and back post double around the double crochet there at that point. I'm at my chain 2 space, so I'm going to go right into it and work 1 double, chain 2, and 1 more double. Now I'm going to start again, putting a back post double crochet around every stitch, until I get to my next point. Alright, I've made it to my next point, which is my front point, so it's the sharper point. So I'm going to go into that chain 2 space there and work 2 doubles, chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets. And then I'm going to start again with the back post double crochets in every stitch until I get to my next point. Alright, I've made it to the last point here, and it's the side point, so we're going to go ahead and go right through the chain space of it and work 1 double, chain 2, and 1 double. Now we're going to go ahead and finish our round by putting a back post double crochet in each of our remaining stitches until we get back to our starting point. Alright, I'm coming to the end here, and I just want to show you, these are our last 2 stitches here. Actually, I gotta go through that one here, sorry. Okay, our last 2 stitches, remember they're hard to see. They kind of look like 3 because we did that chain 1. But there are 2 stitches there, and you need to front post double crochet around those 2. Just do the best you can. They've been slip stitched into, and there's that chain 1. Just do your best to kind of go around them and do the, I'm sorry if I have said front post double, back post double crochet around them. Back post double. We don't do any front post doubles in this pattern. So if I said it at any time, I meant back post. And now we're going to go ahead and end the round by slip stitching into our first double crochet. And now you will have 132 stitches now at the end of round 6. Let's start round 7. Okay, round 7, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch 2 times to our chain 2 space, and then we will work our chain 1 and do what we always do, work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. Now we're going to work some puff stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by chaining 1. We're going to skip 1 stitch and we're going to puff stitch into the next. So remember to skip that one right there. You chained 1. Now this is how we're going to do our puff. We're going to yarn over, skip this one, and go in here and draw up a loop. We're going to do that 3 times. So that would have been number 1. We're going to do it again. We're going to yarn over and go in the same stitch, draw up a loop. That's 2 times. One more time, we're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch again, draw up a loop. You should have a total of 7 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yarn over and go through all through 7 loops and chain 1. And then we're going to repeat that. We're going to skip a stitch and puff stitch into the next. So we yarn over, skip this stitch, work into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over, go in the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go in the same stitch, draw up a loop. So that's 3 times, 7 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 7 and chain 1. And again, skip a stitch, yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go in the same stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go into the same stitch again, draw up a loop. That was 3 times, 7 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 7 and chain 1. Now we are going to repeat this pattern of puff stitch, chain 1, skip 1, puff, chain 1, skip 1 until we get to our next chain or our next point. Alright, I have made it to my next point. I did a puff stitch here. I have 1 stitch left. I want to chain 1 after that puff stitch, skip that stitch, and I'm on my side point here, so it'll be go right into the chain space and work 1 double, chain 2, and 1 more double, like that. Now we're going to start again. We're just going to do the same thing. We are going to chain 1, skip the first stitch, and puff into the next. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and puff into the next. And we're going to repeat this until we get to our next point. Chain 1, skip 1, puff. Chain 1, skip 1, puff. I was singing and I lost track. Just like that. Alright, I'm at my front point now. And I did a puff, a chain 1. I'm going to skip this stitch, and in the chain 2 space of the point, I'm going to work 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles. And then I'm going to repeat. I'm going to repeat by chaining 1, skipping the first stitch, and puffing into the next. So I'm just going to repeat this all until I get to the end of the row. I'm going to puff, chain 1, skip, puff, chain 1, skip until I get to this point. And when I get to this point, you know, I'll work my 1 double, chain 2, 1 double. And then I'll start off again by chaining 1, skipping 1, and puff, chain 1, skip 1, puff, all the way until I get back to my starting point. Okay, I have made it to the end of round 7. I did my last puff stitch. I have 1 stitch there left to skip. Remember, these kind of 2 stitches are kind of weird, but I chained 1. I'm going to go ahead and skip that last stitch and end with the slip stitch into my first double crochet, and now you should have a total of 64 puffs. It's okay if it's curling up. We'll fix that right now here on round 8. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch twice to our chain 2 space, chain 1. We're going to go right back into the chain space and do what we do, 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and 2 doubles, just like that. Now we're going to start off and we're going to put a double crochet in these first 2 doubles here, like that. And now we are going to work a double crochet into every chain 1 space and on top of every double crochet until we get to our next point. So right here is a chain 1 space. We just go directly into it and double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet on top of this puff. So just kind of slide your hook right on top of it there and double crochet into it, double crochet into this next chain 1 space, double crochet on top of the next puff, so just like that, and into the next chain 1 space, and on top of the next puff. And we're going to do this until we get to our next point. So every chain 1 space and on top of every puff stitch we will double crochet. Okay, I'm coming up to my next point here. Now I just double crocheted into my last puff stitch, and here is my point. Now there is a chain 1 space here, and you have to, I know it kind of don't look like it, but there is one, so you need to make sure you go in between the puff stitch and the last stitch or first stitch of your next point and double crochet, and then double crochet into the double crochet of the point. And now we're at a side point, so we're going to go into this chain 2 space and we're going to work 1 double, chain 2, and 1 double. Now we're going to start again and double crochet into this first double crochet here, and a double crochet into every chain 1 space and on top of every puff stitch until we get to our next point. Okay, I've made it to my next point. Now remember, there is a chain 1 space in between your last puff stitch and the double crochet of your next point. Even though it kind of appears like there's not, we still have to go ahead and go into that space because there is one, and do a double crochet, and then double crochet on each of these 2 double crochets of our point. And then we're at our front point now, the chain 2 space. We'll go ahead and do our 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. Now we're just going to repeat this pattern all the way around to the beginning. So it's double crochet in each of these double crochets and every chain 1 space and in every puff stitch until we get to our next point. It's just very important that you remember to get this chain 1 space here in between the last puff and the first double crochet of your point. And then again, you would keep going in the same fashion until we get over here to the end. All right, I have come to the end of my round 8. Now what we're going to do is end by slip stitching into our first double crochet 56 stitches. Now is what you should have. Now that's the end of the repeat. So we're going to repeat rows 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So it's a 6-row repeat. So for row 9, we will start repeating row 3 way up here. Now I'll put timestamps below in the comment section or in the description box to make it easier for you to find each row. So I'll timestamp row 3, the row 4, row 5, the row 6, row 7, and row 8. I'll timestamp the beginning of each row. That way if you click on it, you'll be right there and you will be able, That way you don't have to fiddle around trying to rewind and whatnot to get back to your repeats. So we'll continue repeating those 6 rows, 3 through 8, until we get our poncho the length that we want it to be. All right, I have done a total of 32 rows, or 5 complete repeats. And my last row was a row of double crochet. You can do as many as you'd like, for as long as you'd like it to be. But after you get it as long as you'd like, I'm not going to put any type of edge on it. You definitely can edge it in single crochet. You can put fringe on it. You can put shells on it. You could put picots on it. I'm going to leave mine the way it is. So I'm just going to, I'm ending in my double crochet there. I'm going to clip my yarn off, and then I'll have to hide that tail. One last thing I'm going to do is go around the collar of mine and clean up the front edge. So I'm going to start, I have the right side of my work facing me, but I'm in the back. So if you look, here's where I initially started my very first chain. So I'm going to start in any one of these stitches in the back. It doesn't matter where, just along the back somewhere. And I'm going to pull through my yarn and chain 1. I'm going to try to hide both these tails as I go. And I'm going to go back in that same stitch that I just went through, and I'm going to single crochet. Now I'm going to work across the whole collar area, putting 1 single crochet, or the whole neck area, in every stitch around. And it's just going to clean up the final edge. Just like this. So this will be around the whole neck. It's just 1 single in every stitch until you get right back around here to where we started. All right, now once you make it back to your starting point, you want to go ahead and end by slip stitching into your first single crochet you made. You should have a total of 76 stitches because that is what we started with, but as long as it's somewhere close, I think you'll be good. And clip that off, hide that tail, and you are finished. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to check out my other of hundreds and hundreds of tutorials that I have. Hundreds. Lots of tutorials. Come follow me on Instagram. You can show me all your crochet work. Even if it's not anything of mine, show me. I like to see what everybody's working on. Put a link to that below in the description box. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good day and stay safe.